We're going to destroy some goofy lady. But first, I want to preface it with this because this is very relevant. Earlier today, someone was asking me, hey, what's the Philippines like? How'd you like it? Because they knew I spent a lot of time over there. And I said, man, I love it. Even though there's some things that I don't like so much, for the most part, I really love it. There's so much fun things to do. There's so many nice people. There's so many great experiences that one can have over there. I just love it. But then I started saying, but I love North Dakota as well. I just love the people in North Dakota, a lot of them. There's so much beautiful things in North Dakota. It's just one of the best places in America, and I just love it so much. And I was thinking, there's so many places, people, and things that I can say, man, I love that. And I think that's really how I want to be defined by what I love. And now, as someone that's more conservative, a lot of conservative people, they tend to have this attitude. And certainly, we do hate things that we perceive to be evil, but we're not defined by our hate. But liberals, on the other hand, I can't help but notice how that's how they typically define themselves, by what they hate. So I wanted to pull this up. I came across this rather silly video. Let's take a look at. Now, this is from a page called Impeach Trump. So right there, they're defining themselves not by what they love, not by what they think is good, but they're defining themselves by their hate. Their hate for this one man. That's how they want to define themselves. But someone shared this video. Woman who voted for Trump says she owes the whole world an apology and explains why she's now voting for Biden. So let's see what brilliance this lady has to drop on us.
I voted for Donald Trump in 2016, and I swear I will not make that mistake again. In fact, I owe everyone an apology. I owe the entire world an apology.
Well, get apologizing. Say sorry.
Never voted for a Democrat. I wasn't planning on it this time around. I decided in probably January, February, when I heard that the first case of coronavirus was in Venice, I said to everybody around me, if it's in Venice, it's in the United States. And the administration didn't take it seriously from the very beginning. They continued to come on TV and say, low risk to Americans, 15 cases going down to 0, all this.
Statistically, it still is a very low risk in terms of dying from it. It's an extremely low risk of dying from this, especially if you're healthy and under a certain age.
BS that I knew at the time was BS. So I lacked any confidence and knew that it was going to be lie, deny, deflect, and now it's turned into full-blown delusions. But at that moment,
I would say her fear-mongering is very delusional.
Decided he no longer has my vote. I didn't come around to...
Now, he no longer has her vote because he mishandled the coronavirus, in her opinion. First of all, what do you think he should have done differently? For one thing, when he was closing down travel from China, a lot of people were criticizing him, and you might remember Nancy Pelosi was telling people to go to Chinatown celebrations, which would be statistically the most at risk for contracting the virus. And then you had Cuomo and de Blasio and people like that also encouraging similar type of behavior, but she doesn't blame them. She blames solely Trump, while not even being able to offer what he should have done differently. And by the way, she claims she voted for Trump. I would say that's highly suspect. I highly doubt that, because she's not really giving reasons. We'll watch the whole video, but she's not really giving reasons why she voted for Trump other than she always voted Republican. She's not really saying what won her over to voting for Trump, and she's providing no evidence of voting for Trump. She has nothing to back up that claim, and just as we'll see further, by everything she says, it's highly doubtful that someone with this viewpoint would have ever voted for Trump in the first place.
Voting for Biden until George Floyd. And it was the reaction, or I guess you could say non-reaction, to Americans screaming out for justice. And then, of course, gassing peaceful protesters. I mean, what?
Americans and peaceful. protesters were screaming out for George Floyd. But, like, this is why she said she's voting for Biden. How do you think Biden would have prevented this? What do you think Biden would do differently? And if you've seen the body cam footage, the full thing that's now been uploaded, you'd see that this guy was high out of his mind, resisting arrest, which what looked to be a standard arrest procedure. I'm sure those cops involved never thought this was going to blow up to be a big thing. But
country do we live in? This is insanity. That's when I decided that Biden had my vote, because we need to do whatever we can to get that monster out of the White House. And
Biden has her vote, yet she doesn't say what Biden would have done either to prevent this or to remify it, which, by the way, these guys haven't had their day in court. According to the official autopsy release, the official autopsy that was released, he died of heart failure, most likely caused by the massive amounts of drugs in his system. When are these people ever going to take responsibility for their actions, for the crimes they commit, for the drugs they choose to ingest? There's a lot of very liberal people that are very into the law of attraction, but one aspect that a lot of them don't like talking about of law of attraction teachings, if you're really into that, is the concept, the key concept that you have to take 100% responsibility for everything you have in your life and everything you don't have. So if things are going great, you have lots of money, you can say, yes, I created this. If things are going bad, you can't blame anyone else. You have no one to blame but yourself.
There's just been so much shit since May. I mean, there's example after example after example of why he has to go.
Since May, and none of this is caused by Trump. None of it. She's blaming Trump for everything that the opposite of people do. It's like that meme that's been going around the internet that says, breaking news, the people that said that Trump would destroy America are currently the ones destroying America, burning down cities, burning down police stations, all that.
Think back to 2016, and he ran on Drain the Swamp. He is the swamp. He's worse than the swamp. He is the scum at the bottom of the swamp. We cannot give this man another 4 years. He will destroy this country. A vote for anyone other than Biden is a vote for Trump.
Good.
And you need to...
Now, here she actually brought up a very good point, and it's a point that a lot of people that actually support Trump are actually critical of him, he said he was going to drain the swamp, and that's something that I was very disappointed in President Trump. But she doesn't give you any reason. She just says he is the swamp, instead of making a valid point of he hired people like John Bolton, who's definitely a swamp creature. Which, by the way, it's kind of funny how liberals all of a sudden love John Bolton. Even Brad Pitt mentions him in the speech. Liberals hated him because he's this warmonger guy, but now the far right people hate John Bolton, and the liberals seem to love him. How things have flipped, much like how liberals are the ones out there that want to support big corporations, let them do whatever they want, and they also want to support censorship. I'm old enough to remember when liberals would say, oh, it's the conservatives that want to ban books and censor, and they just want to ban things they don't like. Those conservatives, or man, those conservatives, they're all about the corporations and want to let them run amok and do whatever they want. So you can see how things have flipped. So the one good point that she started to bring up, and there are people that I think he should drain. John Bolton, who has been drained, but he probably should have never hired in the first place. Nikki Haley, even Fauci, I would say, should be drained. So she couldn't even, the one point that she made that was starting to be good, she couldn't even articulate. She just turned it into a crappy insult. Whereas the people that support Trump are actually critical of him and bring up the better points. There's things that you can be critical of the president for, but all her argument is orange man bad. That's all this rant is, basically. Let's finish it up.
Country over party. Please, for the love of all Americans, do the right thing. Do not vote for that monster.
So there you go. Do the right thing. And if you think the right thing is voting for Biden, God help us. I don't even know what to tell you. So until next time, my friends, you can leave a comment. Do you think she actually even voted for Trump in the first place? She didn't even give a reason why she voted for Trump, and she doesn't back up that claim. I'm highly skeptical. But as usual, it just amounted to a rant of Orange Man bad. All she's doing is whining, and she has no solutions to any problems. All she can do is define herself through her hate, like that whole page. And she certainly can't tell you what Joe Biden would do to make the country a better place. Do you think Joe Biden can actually make America great again? Leave a comment.